I love to think about reinventing some aspect of your life like a road trip, okay? Your whole life is one gigantic road trip. It has a beginning. You're going to cover a ton of ground. None of us are going to take the exact same route over the course of our lifetime. And the interesting thing is that we all end in the same place, right? At some point, this amazing road trip is going to end. And so I want you to think about the mile marker that you're on right now in your life. And for me, as much as it makes me go like, to say this, I'm at mile marker 53. And so I want you to put in the comments wherever you're watching, what mile marker are you at right now? And the reason why it's important for you to kind of put a mile marker down is because it's important to ground a conversation around reinvention in time and space. And if you're at mile marker that's in the 20s, the things that you might want to be reinventing could be really different than what I want to reinvent. I was asking a bunch of the amazing folks that work for me today, actually, about this topic, because when I think about reinvention, I tend to think about career because of where I'm at in my life. But in your 20s, I was surprised by how many of the amazing people that work for me in their 20s said, well, I'm really thinking about where I want to live. Do I want to stay where I am? Do I want to change it up? Do I want to try something different? Some of the folks that work for me at mile markers in their 30s were like, I'm thinking a lot about family. I'm thinking a lot about that experience. When you start to get into the 40s, it tends to focus back on career. And for me, when I think about being 53 and I think about all of the miles that I have to still cover, I think about fulfillment. I think about how do I want these next legs of the journey to feel, and what changes do I need to make now in order to have the road ahead be as fulfilling and as fun and as freeing as it can possibly be. Because I'll tell you what, the 20s through the freaking 50s have been a grind. I mean, I've been wildly successful, but I had a friend of mine recently say, I think the more successful that you get, Mel, the more miserable you are, because your business life isn't working for where you are on this leg of the journey. And so now that you've got your mile marker down, I want you to think about what is just one aspect of your life. Let's not try to blow up your whole life. That's a big mistake that people make too. But what's one aspect of your life that if you think about this leg of the journey on the road trip of life, what is one aspect of your life that you want to think about specifically as we have this conversation? So for me personally, where I want to focus the conversation around reinvention, it is all in the area of my business. BRENDON knows this. He's had a front row seat to the last 2 years, and I have been wildly successful as a motivational speaker in the corporate circuit. I have been wildly successful partnering with Audible. I have been wildly successful with the 2 audiobooks that I have produced. And my business model does not make me happy anymore because it requires me to have to show up physically in order for us to be making money. And that is not a smart business model, particularly when you're in your 50s, but honestly, it's not the greatest business model in any event, especially if you're going to be in the content business. And so I have made a decision based on a lot of soul searching and making a lot of mistakes and then following the advice that I'm about to give you to get really clear about what I wanted and why, how long it was going to take. And I, with that clarity, was able to pivot and make a turn on the road that I was on. And so instead of being in the business of showing up and talking on stages and partnering with large corporations to create projects for them, we are pivoting and reorganizing the entire business around a massive podcast launch that's going to happen later this year, and a business that is focused on us creating content for ourselves and us becoming experts in online marketing. And I'll tell you something, when you get really clear about where you are and where you want to go, something interesting happens. When you have that level of clarity, all of the stuff that's not aligned with where you want to go suddenly rises to the surface. And this is what I'm talking about when I say reinvention can be a very rough road, because reinventing your life for real is about getting into alignment with where your heart is calling you to go. And so I'm going to tell you, before we walk through these mistakes, as you get clearer and clearer and clearer, and you start approaching reinvention from a place of alignment and a place of heading in the right direction and asking the right questions and thinking about things in a longer term and about what really matters to you, you will hit all these bumps, because there's a lot about your current life that is not aligned with where you truly want to go. And that's one of the major reasons why it's been hard for you to reinvent yourself, because you're clinging to things that are familiar, even though the things that you're clinging to are not going to be part of the journey that you're taking in this next leg. Okay. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that the things that you're going to say goodbye to, or the people that you're going to spend less time with, or the parts of your business that you're no longer going to engage in, doesn't mean those things are bad. It just means that's baggage. Those are people that you're just not taking on the next leg of the journey. That's it. So I'm in the middle of this. And what I want to talk about are what are the mistakes that everybody makes. So if you continue to use the metaphor that I'm using, which is that your life is one big long road trip, there are going to be lots of twists and turns. And sometimes life throws a detour right at you. The pandemic's been a huge one. It's probably made a lot of you question, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What do I actually value? Is my current life aligned with the things that I value? I'm sure you learned a ton of stuff about what you value, having survived these last 2 years. And that's really important, because the first mistake that everybody makes is you jump right into it and you think that you can create a map to where you're going when you don't even know where the hell you are right now. You have to slow down before you can go fast. And I know I've talked about this in a lot of my other trainings because it's true. When it comes to making a map, which is what you need to go from point A to point B, to go from mile 53 to mile 54, in order to create that map, you must know where you're starting from. It is mathematically impossible to give somebody directions to a new location if we don't know where you are right now. And too often, the biggest mistake that you make is that you think that if you know the direction that you're headed in, that you can just point out where you want to go and point your life in that direction and zoom. And I will tell you what's going to happen. If you don't hit the brakes right now and look around and look within and understand where you are right now, what's working, what's not working, you will literally take the baggage that you have and the people that aren't aligned with where you're going, and you will drag them right with you. And you will continue to make the same mistakes, and you will not achieve what you're meant to achieve. So you got to stop right now, and you got to take some time to truly unpack, where am I? Okay, at this moment, like, where am I? What do I know about myself? Like, if you think about even just the last year, everybody, what were the highs of the last year? What were the lows? What have you learned about yourself? What are the mistakes you don't want to repeat? What are you willing to work for? And what is it that you're never going to do again? So one of the first things that I had to do, for example, in reinventing my life in terms of the career and completely reorganizing my business, reimagining everything, is I had to set up rules for myself so that I knew, based on the wisdom of where I am, I knew that I wouldn't take that baggage with me into the future. Like, I'm very clear. I'm going to launch and dominate in the podcast market. I'm going to own all my own content. I am going to produce it all in-house. I am very clear about what's happening. But what I had to do is stop. And I had to go, well, where am I right now? And where I was right then when I asked that question was I was exhausted. I was traveling too much. I was looking at a calendar where I had commitments, you guys, for 9 months to other people, which literally meant I had no time to work on the thing that I wanted to do. And I guarantee you got commitments too. When you look ahead, commitments from the old life, commitments from where you are. And so I had to come up with a set of rules that aligned with where I wanted to get to. And those rules sounded like this. And I'm just going to talk in the context of the speaking business. I no longer accept speeches on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, or Mondays, period. I no longer speak in locations where I have to take a connecting flight, period. I no longer speak anywhere that requires me to stay somewhere more than one night. I need to be able to go in and get out. Because stopping and looking backwards and going, what hasn't worked? What hasn't worked is I've been exhausted. I've been traveling. It's impossible to make a pivot if, like me, where my business was, is Mel's catching a plane, Mel's on that stage, Mel's over there, Mel's running to do this. And I realized if I was serious about reinventing my life, I needed to put ground rules in place right now that aligned with what I wanted instead of what I knew. I want to start with a definition of fulfillment because this sort of blew my mind a little bit. Fulfillment is when you're satisfied because you are fully developing your deepest desires and your character. Fulfillment's very different than happiness, everybody. Happiness comes and goes. Happiness is fleeting. Happiness is like the waves in an ocean or the waves on Lake Michigan, the Great Lakes here in the United States, which is where I grew up on Lake Michigan. The waves, they come and they go, right? That's happiness. It comes and it goes. It rolls in and out of your life. And oftentimes it feels like it's out of your control. Fulfillment is the ocean or the Great Lakes itself. Fulfillment is something way deeper. And fulfillment is about integrity and meaning. And the fact that when you have integrity and meaning in your life, you are fulfilled, you are satisfied because you are fulfilling and fully developing your deepest desires and your character. And this is important. And I'm going to really hammer these words around meaning and, more importantly, integrity. If I had to pick one word that was important when it comes to you deepening your level of fulfillment with your whole life, the word is integrity. Now, this was brand new to me. You know, I always thought about fulfillment like, oh, find your joy, find your passion, find your purpose. Like, then you'll be fulfilled. Do things that you love, you'll be fulfilled. It actually has more to do with integrity, which is really cool. And, you know, when I explain why integrity is so important, it's also going to illuminate all the places in your life where you're not fulfilled, because I guarantee you, the places in your life where you're missing fulfillment are also lacking personal integrity. You're not operating consistently with what you care about. You're not operating with integrity in terms of your values. You're not spending your time, your energy, and your resources on what truly aligns with you from an integrity standpoint. And so that's why we're going to continue to hammer this word integrity, okay? And that's great because when you start to think about cultivating personal integrity and how that translates to more fulfillment in your life, it's going to make that fulfillment something that you can control. It's going to make it deeply personal. It's going to make it something that you can move the needle on. It puts the locus of control within your reach. Let me talk about the two mistakes that everybody makes, okay, when it comes to fulfillment. And this is why fulfillment in some areas of your life are out of reach right now. The number one mistake that we make, if you're struggling with fulfillment in any area of your life, is that you're not living according to your own values. You know, I think we've all gone through those periods of our lives where we are drinking too much, or we're spending too much money, or we're hanging out with the wrong people, or we're making unhealthy choices. And you know deep down inside that this is not what you want to be doing. It's not what you should be doing. But because you are not living based on your own values, you don't respect yourself. There's no way you are going to live a fulfilled life if at the base level, you don't respect the choices that you're making. So can you identify an area of your life right now, either in the chat or in the journal function in the app, an area of your life where you are not living according to your own values? I see health coming up for people. I'm sure if you think about how you're spending your money or whether or not you're saving money, you're not aligned with your values. Maybe you're doing work. I see productivity. I see exercise. So if you're not living according to your own values, this is one reason why you're not going to be fulfilled in your life. The second thing is that you spend your time and your resources on things that actually don't matter to you. You're spending your time and your resources on things that don't matter to you at the deepest level. These are the two big mistakes that we all make. And the good news here is that these are mistakes that you can easily identify, that you can address. And when you do, you take control back and you will amp up the level of fulfillment that you feel. I'm going to say this again. Fulfillment is not the same thing as happiness. Fulfillment is meaning and integrity. And that's why habit number one and building a foundation is about values. Because you will only find fulfillment, true, lasting, deep fulfillment, everybody, if you are following your values like a compass, not your mood. You got to follow your values and let that be your compass. That's how you build the proper foundation. And so what does that mean? What does that mean, everybody? Well, it means you got to figure out what matters to you, okay? And then you must develop the simple discipline to spend your time and energy on things, people, experiences that align with what matters to you. Living with integrity to what matters to you is the secret of fulfillment. And I think, I've alluded to this earlier, but, I can think about times in my life when either what I was doing for work or what I was doing with my free time did not align with my values. And so I'm going to tell you a quick story about a time in my life, because you know what it feels like. You know what it feels like. How many of you know that you're living out of integrity with your core values right now in some area of your life? Yeah, you know what it feels like. It can feel kind of irritating, like there's a rock in your shoe. And every step you take, there's this little thing in your shoe and it just bothers you, but you never stop to untie your shoelaces and dig the rock out and retie your shoes. You just kind of live with this grinding irritation. Or you can be so out of integrity with your values that you literally don't even feel like you know yourself anymore. And you may find yourself anywhere on that scale. I know I certainly have in my life. I have found myself feeling that kind of rock in the shoe type of integrity when it comes to eating, when it comes to kind of going out and spending time doing things with either people or experiences that I don't really care about, but I'm just kind of going. And I can think about the other end of the spectrum, you guys. And, this isn't something I'm proud to admit, but when I was in high school, when I was in college, when I was in law school, one of the things that I did that was completely at odds with my values was when I knew it was time to break up with somebody based on childhood trauma, anxiety, all kinds of issues, immaturity, lack of therapy. I would literally cheat on my current boyfriend and find a new person to anchor myself to as a way to exit a relationship. Now, this is not something I'm proud to admit to you, but what I can tell you is this was so against my values of integrity. It was so against my values of relationship, of connection, of being powerful in my life. But I was so lost that I didn't even recognize myself. And you may be in that sort of area in your life right now, in some area of your life too. And so it's important to understand whether you have a rock in the shoe or you are doing something that is so out of bounds for even you that you no longer recognize yourself, recognizing that there is this lack of alignment, this schism that doesn't feel right. I'm going to talk about my philosophy about leadership, because when I hear the word leadership, I think about influence. So let's first talk about, what does the word influence actually mean? Okay. So influence is the power that you have to affect the actions, behaviors, and opinions of other people. In short, it means you have the influence to move somebody from point A to point B. Now, there are two kinds of influence that all leaders have. Internal influence, and that's the power that you have over yourself. And in my opinion, this type of influence is the single most important type of influence to practice and cultivate that will impact your ability to impact others. Internal influence is your ability to move yourself from point A to point B. Because one of the things about being a great leader is knowing how to be flexible, knowing how to change, knowing how to pivot, knowing how to grow. And that means you've got to have influence over yourself. The other type of influence is external influence. And that is your ability to move other people from point A to point B. You know, we all have had these experiences, right, where we've been around other leaders. We've been around people that have had that implied influence, right? Because of their position, because of their title. But I guarantee you, you've had the experience where you've had to work for or been around another leader, but they have not been that influential on you. They were either a jerk or a micromanager, or they showed up in a way that made you feel awful. You have had that experience. And one of the reasons why I want to hammer home this point, that it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you do. Leadership, the best kind of leadership and the most powerful kind of influence, is the type that's earned. It has nothing to do with your position. It has nothing to do with your title. It has everything to do with how you show up and the way in which you treat other people. I want you to understand that the most important aspect of raising your influence and of becoming a better and a more influential leader is deciding that you want to be and claiming that leadership role in your life. When you look at leadership, and Brendan's right, it's super important that you're a student your whole life, that leadership is something that you should study. When you start to look into leadership, you're going to see that there's all kinds of books, there's all kinds of philosophies. There are servant-based leaders, there are transformational leaders, there are situational leaders, there are people who are authoritarian leaders. There's a bazillion different leadership styles. Well, what I want you to think about is, what kind of leader do you want to be? And there are two questions that I think are important for you to ask yourself. And the reason why it's important for you to ask yourself these two questions is because they will give you a roadmap that maps to your values and maps to your goals and maps to who you are in terms of cultivating a leadership style. Okay. So here are the two questions. Number one, when you leave a room, what do you want people to say about you? And these are really important, and I'm going to explain why. So for me, when I leave a room, what do I want people to say about me? Oh my gosh, she's authentic, she's smart, she's inspiring, she's fun. I want to work with her. I love her. Like, that's the kind of vibe. Those are the adjectives. And it's important for you to answer that question authentically for you. What do you want people to say about you when you leave a room? Because to me, embedded in that description is the roadmap to the type of leader that you want to be. And I guarantee you, what Brendan would say in answer to that question is different than what I would say. And it's different than what you would say. I see motivating, caring, informative, inspiring, happy, and confident. These are really important words for you to think about. And here's why. Once you answer that question, what do you want people to say about you when you leave a room? You now have this roadmap, as I've mentioned, and you can use a very powerful body of research called behavioral activation therapy, BAT. The shorthand for BAT, I talk about it a lot in my training, is act like the person you want to become. It sounds supremely stupid and simple. Everything I talk about is. And oftentimes the greatest change always comes from the simple, obvious stuff. If you want people to say that you are inspiring, happy, and confident, or you are fun, positive, and kind, act like that person. Research shows that simply setting an intention at the beginning of the day about who you want to be today, what are those words you want people to say about you when you leave the room? Wow, that Mel Robbins, she is so authentic. She is just herself. She is so smart. She is so inspiring. She's so fun to be. I really want to work with her. That is critical for you to write down. Now let's talk about the second one. Okay, because this is going to measure the impact that you want to make. Okay, so the first one is sort of giving you the roadmap to acting like the kind of leader, the sort of leadership style. Now we're going to talk about impact, and that is, how do you want people to feel when they're around you? See, the first question was about you and your reputation. The second one is about the impact that you make in people, how you're perceived. For me, I want people to leave feeling empowered, seen, and inspired. And if I had to ask, do another one, it would be energized and appreciated. So what are the words that describe how you want people to feel when they are around you? You see, another metaphor, and I love metaphors too, is leadership and influence is all about action and intention. And a metaphor that I like to think about when I think about leadership and influence is, we have this awesome dog named YOLO. He is literally one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. He's 2 years old, so he's just coming out of the puppy stage. He's an Australian Shepherd. And we've had lots of dogs in our life, and we have this awesome cat named Mr. Noodle. They're all over my Instagram stories if you follow me online. But he is just joyous. When I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to this dog panting back and forth in the bedroom because he wants to go outside, he's so excited. The second he hears me stir, he's like up on the bed. He's super excited. And I take him for a walk every morning, and we're down vacationing this month. And we're right by the ocean. And one of the greatest things that I do every morning is I walk the dog. And so I throw the ball and he runs in and out of the ocean. And, if you've ever been around a dog and a dog runs into the ocean and runs down the sand and then runs back into the ocean, what does a dog do when they're wet? They like shake, right? Shake. And then sand and ocean water and seaweed and everything that's on the dog goes spraying off in every direction. It gets all over everything. Your leadership and influence style is the exact same way. You are sprinkling it and spreading it everywhere you go. And so it's so important for you to answer these questions. How do you want people to feel when they're around you? Because that is the ocean and the sand and everything that shakes off you as you're moving around through your day-to-day life. And if you want to make sure that people feel, and I see this, playful, at peace, empowered, good, you need to be intentional about causing that in people. Thank you for being here. And, you know, when I looked at the topic of how to win your year, I immediately went to two places. I thought, oh, well, you know, if you're going to win your year, you got to learn to win your days. And I think that, you know, that's true. And there is so much training that already exists on GrowthDay, and probably so much training that you have taken and watched and implemented into your life about daily habits. And that certainly is the backbone to winning your year. You got to win your year as a daily win in the way that you approach your days. Now, that said, the second thing that I thought about when I heard this topic, how to win your year, was I thought about the lottery. There is a tradition in our family every single Christmas morning as part of the stockings. And we have a rule in our family where, you know, you can't wake anybody else up now that our kids are older. You don't get to wake everybody up and rattle them to get out of bed to open the Christmas presents. But if you get up early and you want to open your stocking, you can. And there's a tradition in our family that my dad started, and now my husband does. And that is that in your stocking are literally a dozen of those dollar scratch tickets. And so, you know, every single Christmas morning, this is not really the most, beautiful scene. There the five of us are scratching away like crazy and then looking at each other's tickets. And we almost never win anything. And the reason why is because we don't know what we're doing. Believe it or not, I looked into this. There is a science that people who win the lottery and win it multiple times follow. And when I really started to extract the steps and the science, it provides 6 incredible lessons that we can all use to think about how to win the year. And so, you know, the 6 lessons are this: winners don't rely on luck. They start the game by intending to win, and they play the game in a way that aligns with that intention to win. If you want to win your year, you are not going to do it based on luck. You will win it because you intend to win it. Second rule: winners pick a game to play that plays to their strengths and to their interests. Do not just play a game because everybody else is playing it. In other words, if you really want to win the year, you got to be super selective and very intentional about what game it is that you intend to win. This was another really interesting thing about winners. Do you know that most winners that win the lottery multiple times play in a group? They don't play individually. Now, fourth is that winners also have a very personalized strategy. They don't just default to the way that everybody else is doing it. They have a method and a methodology. Number 5, winners increase their odds by playing more often. And finally, winners don't ever trash their losses. I do have one giant disclaimer that I need everybody to hear me say loud and clear. I am not recommending that you gamble or that you play the lottery or that you even buy scratch tickets. I am merely trying to use a metaphor and a bunch of resources to win at the game of life, because it is a game. And there are various strategies and rules that work for everybody when you apply the rules that the winners are using to your own life and you make them yours. You know, here is the truth about the lottery. That every single number has an equal probability of being chosen as the winner, just like every single human being, including you, has an equal probability of doing the work to win your year. There's another disclaimer there. I am not saying that everybody's 24 hours is the same, because I do not believe that is true. I believe if you have more resources, you can make more out of your 24 hours. I believe that if you are a single parent, you have a lot more constraints on those same 24 hours than a single person has. And so while we have various things that limit the amount of time that we have or how we can use that time based on our life circumstances at the moment, you do have an equal probability of being able to do the work and follow the rules that will make you win your year. When you look at rule number 1 with winners, that winners don't rely on luck. They are very intentional. They play to win. And when you are going to play to win, you got to have a defined strategy, everybody. You are not going to win the year if your goals are all over the friggin' place. You are not going to win the year if you are trying to make your health number 1 and trying to make financial security number 1 and trying to be present number 1 and trying to do this number 1. You are going to win the year if you are super intentional and very selective about defining the game. I want you to think about, what is the game that you want to win? And have you actually defined it? Because there's a big difference, everybody, in saying, I want to win the lottery, and saying, I am going to play to win the Mega Millions drawing in the state of Texas. Do you see the difference? Or I am going to play to win this particular thing that happens on this particular day of the week that is run by a county or a state. So you're not going to win anything if you have not narrowed and focused and defined the game. And so if you have an idea, a very specific idea, I do not want to see health. I don't want to see finances. I do not want to see these general categories in the chat. If you have defined the actual game you want to win this year, start putting it in the chat. And notice your hesitation. Notice if you're like, oh, dang, I've been talking about financial freedom, but I actually haven't defined the game. So if health, I see Bridget going, oh, well, I had both health and finances. Okay, great. What's the game? What is the game in health that you're playing? Confidence is a skill that you can build using simple, repetitive tasks and thinking tools. And you can start building it today. I want you to just settle in for a second, ground yourself in this moment, and I want you to think about, what is something that you want to make happen this year in your life? What is the one thing that if Mel Robbins could wave her sparkly lip gloss and I could give you the next level of confidence, okay? What is that thing that you really want to create in your life for real? And write it down. I see write a book. I see retire. I see have 10 to 15 coaching clients, be a speaker, sell my art. All of it is achievable. How do I know that? Because somebody else in the world is doing it. If someone else in the world is doing what you dream of doing, you have evidence that it is possible for you. And here's what I know about your dreams. Your dreams are deeply personal. And when you have dreams that are deeply personal, that are meant for you, that pull you like an arrow is pulled towards a target, you only have two choices. You either got to figure out how to level up your confidence and start working toward it, or those dreams will haunt you. Because I personally believe, I'm writing a book about this right now, that when you're born, your dreams are woven into your DNA. They're preset. There is a life that is meant for you. And your dreams are trying to pull you toward this. And what's super, super cool about getting in touch with your dreams when it relates to confidence is that, your dreams are just things that you can achieve if you work toward them. And so if you're not working toward your dreams, if you don't have your dreams already achieved, here's what I know. There's something about you that is blocked right now. And that's okay. Thinking about your dreams will haunt you. Getting out of the thinking habit and into the action habit, that is what will change your life. And so here's the next thing I want to do. I want you to now level up even more, because I bet the way that you wrote your dreams down, I bet you even shrunk it a little. I bet your self-doubt and your insecurity made you write a dream that was a little bit smaller than what you actually want, right? I know this because I do the same damn thing to myself. Of course I do. I think about, what my big dreams are, and I go, oh, well, what do I really want? I want my next book to be a massive success. I want it to dominate the bestseller list for at least 10 weeks. That's my big, big, big dream. But what I say is, oh, I'd love to, make the New York Times bestseller list. I shrink it because my self-doubt and my insecurity even starts to block me when I dream. You feel the pull of your dream, but then you say this to yourself: it will never happen for me. There's a relationship between confidence, which pushes you forward, and self-doubt, which blocks you. And this is why self-doubt is such a killer, because you know what you want. You can feel what you want. You are jealous of people that have it. You are pulled toward that thing that you want. And your doubt is blocking you by actively convincing you it won't happen for you. So let's talk a little bit about confidence, okay? First of all, I've already said it's a skill. It doesn't matter if you were born the most insecure, thumb-sucking, abused, pathetic soul of a human being. You can build the skill of confidence. It doesn't matter if you came out of the womb super ego-driven and larger than life and confident and all that stuff. You still have a lot of work to do when it comes to confidence, authentic confidence. So let me talk to you about what is the skill of confidence. My definition of confidence is not belief in self. I love evidence-based advice because I'm kind of skeptical. I looked at the research on confidence, okay? And there's really good news here. The first thing you've already learned, it's a skill. The second thing that you are going to learn that's really good is it's very simple to build the skill of confidence. And you can do it through repetitive actions every day, very simple little things that will slowly build up the reservoir of confidence. And here's the definition I want to give you of confidence. Confidence is the willingness to try. That's it. And the reason why I like this definition is because this definition is based in the research around confidence. So if you want to learn more about this, Google confidence competency loop. This is my fancy little graphic, okay? This is what we call a confidence competency loop. I did not invent this. This is something that people who research confidence for a living have created. And I've highlighted this because this is where confidence begins. It begins with the willingness to try, because I'm going to show you what ends up happening if you're the kind of person who trains yourself. Notice the words I'm using, trains. We're not going to sit around and wait for motivation. We're not going to wait for courage. We're going to manufacture those things. And this is where the 5-second rule is so transformative. All you do is in a moment where you feel doubt, insecurity, fear, anxiety, procrastination, perfectionism, PTSD, OCD, anything that you might possibly have that would rise up to block you, you simply count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And you got to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And what that will do is it will shift gears in your mind. Instead of being stuck here in the part of the brain that keeps you stuck worrying and thinking and having a bias towards overthinking and being a perfectionist, you're going to go 1, 4, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're going to try. The first time you try, you will fail. That's really good news. You want to know why? You learn by failing. Do you realize that's how you've always learned? That when you were a kid, you don't remember this, but when you were learning to walk, you fell an average of 17 times an hour. And so you learn everything when you fail. Because when you fail, as much as you may think you're going to die, if you stand on a stage, I see a lot of you who want to be coaches or speakers or whatever, you're going to have to learn how to give a speech where you stutter and where your mouth gets really dry and pasty and where you get a neck rash and where you forget what you're supposed to say. You got to do all that stuff. Why? Because when you fail, you don't die. You actually gain knowledge and experience. And that's the gift of failure, because you then take that knowledge and that experience and you go right back to the next time. And then you try again. But this time when you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 try, you're going to take your knowledge and experience with you and you're going to fail a little bit less. And what you're going to learn there, you're going to take right back to the next time that you try. You 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You push yourself to try. You gain a little bit of competency for the next time you're going to do it. And every time you gain a little bit of competency, your mastery goes up. And that's when you start to feel more self-assured. And that muscle, everybody, of trying, that is where you build the skill of confidence. It's going to be a different kind of Mel Robbins training, because normally I come in so high energy and I'm super excited to share everything that I've learned, the hard stuff, the easy stuff. And when I saw that the topic today is about advanced wellness strategies for home and for work, I thought, this is going to be a potentially very boring training. And let me tell you why. The things that you need to do in order to increase wellness, confidence, purpose, a sense of control when it comes to day-to-day habits in your home life or at work are really boring on their face. And so I am coming out of the gates to say that because the more successful I have become, the happier I have become, the more boring my life looks on paper. I'm not kidding. The things I'm about to share with you are not sexy. They are not exciting, but they are the foundation for everything that you want and that you deserve in your life. So we're going to talk first, okay, when it comes to wellness, about something that you may not think a lot about. Because when you're building a business, when you're going for your dreams, when you are pursuing a big, passionate life, you think about all the stuff that you're doing, right? One of the most important things when it comes to wellness strategies for home and for work is sleep, period. The more successful that I've become, the more boring my life looks and the more sleep that I get. My husband and I are in bed by 9:30 on most nights. And the reason why is because I know the science around sleep. Now, it's kind of boring to tell it to you, so I'm going to just give you some of the highlights. It is impossible for your brain, for your body, and for your spirit to do what it's been designed to do if you have not given it the rest that it deserves. The research on this is just something you can't argue with. It is so horrible for your brain when you do not get a good night's sleep. The research shows that not only does it impact your mood, but when you do not have enough sleep, let's talk with, an all-nighter. If you've ever pulled an all-nighter, I used to be the queen of the all-nighters in college and in law school. When you pull an all-nighter, the all-nighter's impact on your brain is the equivalent to head trauma. It actually shrinks your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that you need in order to be able to focus, in order to be able to learn new behavior. And so sleep is essential. If you want to be successful, you must prioritize your sleep. If you want a sense of wellness and in health, you must prioritize your sleep. I read this study once that if you've got 3 days in a row where you get less than 6 hours of sleep at night, it is the equivalent of being legally drunk when it comes to your speed of processing, your ability to focus. And so one of these foundational principles when it comes to your success and your wellness, both at home and at work, is you making sleep a serious priority. So what are some tactical takeaways? I'm going to steal something from BRENDON that he posted that you may have seen on his Instagram page, because it is an excellent summary of what we call a wind down routine. Morning routines right now are all the rage. How many of you have a morning routine, right? You rely on your morning routine. How you set your day up is how the day ends up. But your morning routine doesn't begin in the morning, everybody. It begins the night before. It begins with you going to bed at a reasonable hour, and it begins with you completing your day and winding your day down in a way that sets you up for success. BRENDON posted this post that I just love that he called the 3-2-1 formula. 3 hours before bed, you stop eating. 2 hours before bed, you stop working. 1 hour before bed, no more screens. And you want to know why? Anything that's on a screen is somebody else's dream. Your dreams deserve a great night's sleep. Your dreams deserve your focus and attention. And so I want you to be mindful about how you wind down your day. The 3-2-1 principle from BRENDON. We're stealing it here. 1 hour beforehand, you're going to turn off your screens. The next thing that I want you to do is absolutely no phone in the bedroom. You're going to hear me talk about this incessantly. And the reason why is you're addicted to it. This does not belong in your bedroom, okay? And the reason why I don't want it in the bedroom is because I want you to have a good night's sleep. And if this is in arm's reach, you're going to lay in bed and look at it. And that's going to interrupt your ability to sleep. In addition, the blue light for this on the phone, even when you're asleep, it interrupts your ability to drift into the deeper REM sleep. And you want to know the actual purpose of sleep, everybody. It has to do with focus. This is so fascinating when you understand it. Of course, we know that you need rest, right? Of course, we know that you've got to put yourself to bed so that your body can rest. You need it. But do you know the real reason why your brain needs you to sleep? I'm going to tell you. When you're asleep, half of your brain can turn off and go into an autopilot mode. And the other half of your brain gets to go to work doing something critically important for your success. While this part of the brain is on autopilot and asleep, this part of the brain takes your experience from today and starts filing away all of the things that happened to you today, all the memories, all of the lessons, all of the skill building, absolutely everything that happened to you today gets filed away like books returning to a library system. If you didn't sleep, you wouldn't have any memories. And so it's critically important for your ability to focus, for your ability to build knowledge, for your ability to become stronger and more resilient, for your ability to be productive, for you to sleep so that you can take everything that happened today, and while you're busy sleeping, you can store it away as knowledge that you're building on. So let's talk about going to bed. And I realize this is probably not what you thought we were going to talk about, but I can't tell you how important this is. When you go to bed, you're not going to have this next to you, because we're going to talk about what's going to happen in the morning when you wake up for yourself, a concept that I invented that I love. It's a whole philosophy about getting out of bed. This isn't going to be near you. And what I want you to do before you go to bed is I want you every single night to set your alarm intentionally. You see, how many of you get up at the same time every morning? Every morning is the same time. It's like getting up is on autopilot too. Every single night, I want you to get present to tomorrow morning. I want you to get present to what you actually need in the morning to set yourself up. And I want you to set your alarm intentionally for that time that is going to be the amount of time that gives you enough time to do absolutely every single thing that you need to do for yourself. Because if you're anything like I used to be, one of those people that would set the alarm knowing that I was going to hit the snooze alarm 4 times in the morning. And then I was going to spring out of bed and somehow try to do an hour's worth of stuff in a matter of 10 minutes flat. And so my day already started in a panic attack. That's not how you practice wellness. That's not how you practice success. So every night, it's not the same alarm. It's what's going to serve me and my dreams and the things that I need to do tomorrow. I love this topic, this idea. I even wrote it down, that when there's turmoil and chaos around you, you need to be better at managing yourself.
Yes.
And this sort of emotional side of striving. And there have been many years in my life where I have been very, very, very busy, and I've gotten a lot of stuff done, but I have felt one decision away from needing to literally check myself in somewhere, because I was about to break down mentally, emotionally, physically. And for people that, like you and me, that are really interested in achieving and making an impact, you can get yourself so busy and so overworked that you're not present and you're not in control of what you're doing, and you're sure as heck are not enjoying it. And we've already done a lot of training about productivity. And productivity, in my mind, are all the things that you do, right? It's like about getting the important stuff done. And there are lots of things that I know that you know, based on the research, have a demonstrated impact on your ability to focus. Things like getting a better night's sleep, exercising and moving your body every day, removing distractions, having a really empowering morning routine that sets you up in a way that allows your day to end up being focused on the things that you care about for at least an important amount of time. Now, those are all things that if you feel like you're losing control, that you should go back to, because those are the basics: removing distractions, doubling down on your morning routine and how you set your day up so that how your day ends up is something that you're proud of, exercising and moving your body, even if it's just getting up in the middle of the day and walking around the block for 10 minutes, and sleep. All things that have a huge difference, make a huge difference on productivity. I want to talk about the bigger things. I want to talk about the stuff from a mind, body, spirit level that not only will help you be more productive, which in my mind, being productive means that you are making progress on things that matter. See, to me, productivity isn't about being busy. You're not going to go to your grave and wish that somebody wrote on it, boy, could he or she get through a to-do list?
Like being busy, racing around, getting a ton of unimportant things done, feeling distracted and reactive, that's not the game that you want to play. Being productive in my mind means being so focused and confident and in control and connected to yourself that you are able to make progress on the things that matter to you, that you are able to stay focused and confident and connected to your values when the game starts to change, when life gets chaotic. This type of productivity isn't outside of you in terms of the things that you do. It's about building tools within yourself so that you can come back into your own power when life gets tumultuous or chaotic or uncertain, or when the things you've been working on don't work out. We're going to start with a tool and a habit that I call high-fiving your heart. And there's a particular reason why we're going to start with this tool. And I want you to make this a daily habit. And I'm going to explain how you do it. I'm going to explain the science. I'm going to teach you why this is essential for you to be doing every day in order to maintain focus, in order to maintain connection with yourself, and in order to build what I call body confidence. Body confidence is feeling comfortable in your own skin. Body confidence is being able to root yourself and ground yourself in your own body when life tries to hijack you. This has nothing to do with your appearance. This has to do with what it feels like to be you living your life. So high-fiving your heart is very, very simple. And first thing that I'm going to do is explain why you need to do this, okay? The reason why you need to start incorporating a high five to your heart into your day-to-day life is because research from Dr. Judy Willis, who is one of the world's leading neuroscientists. She was with UCLA for a long time, tons of research studies. Her research proves that it is impossible for your brain to effectively focus when your nervous system is on edge. It is impossible, I'm going to say it again, for your brain to effectively focus when your nervous system is on edge. And the reason why you've got to learn how to high five your heart is because it is a science-backed tool that will switch you from a state where what's called your sympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system, you have two nervous systems in your body. Your sympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that is activated when you're feeling anxious, when you're on edge, when your heart is racing, when you feel like the next shoe's about to drop, when you watch the news. Psychologists call it a dysregulated nervous system. And the fact of the matter is, I do not need to be a medical doctor to tell you, right now, you have a dysregulated nervous system. It would be impossible for you to have survived the last 18 months and the world that we've been living in and not wake up and feel on edge, and not wake up and feel like something else is about to happen, because something else always is. Are we wearing masks? Or are we not wearing masks? Are the kids going back to school? Or are they not going back to school? Are we going to the office? Or are we not going to the office? Like everything is changing, which puts your nervous system in a state where it's waiting for something to happen. Now, when you're in that state, it's very hard for you to change behavior. It's very hard for you to learn new things, anything. It's very hard for you to do creative work. It's very hard for you to be productive and focused and calm. And so I'm going to teach you this incredible tool that you can use at any moment when you start to feel the stress level rise. And it could be any moment. You could be texting a friend and you see the 3 dots coming up and you feel the wave. You could have just sent an email and it's a really big pitch and it's somebody you admire and you're like, oh, are they going to write back? And you feel the stress come up. It could be any moment. You could be on a plane and they say, we're going to have an emergency landing, which is a true story in one of these books. And you can feel your nervous system brace. Anytime you feel on edge, you can use the high five to the heart to activate science to get you grounded back in your body and to flip on what's called your parasympathetic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system is your calm and your cool nervous system. And this is the nervous system that you need in order to feel a calm, striving sense of productivity. If you want to feel in control, this is the fastest way to do it. And here's how you do it. We're going to do it together. This is not like something that you're going to observe. We're doing this together. Put your hand on the heart, or I've got big mitts, so I put my hands kind of right here because then it touches my heart. Now, when you put your hands here and press against your chest, what you're going to do is you're going to be stimulating what's called your vagus nerve. When you high five your heart, we're going to do it together, and then I'm going to explain the science of what's happening. First of all, we're going to take a deep breath together, okay? So here we go. Then you're going to repeat 3 sentences to yourself while you hold your hands against your heart. You're going to say, I'm going to say it and pause so then you can say it. Here we go. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. And what's going to happen is you're going to repeat that to yourself. You can say it out loud. You can say it to yourself. You can think it. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved. And there may be some mornings that you do this 53 times. There'll be some mornings that you do it once. If you can say those 3 sentences, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved, while your hands are right here, you want to know what? It's true. In this moment, despite the fact that there's all kinds of stuff going down and your nervous system is on edge, you are safe, you are okay, and you are loved. And you're actually demonstrating that to yourself, and your brain sees it.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.